the cold man who rejected every woman until he met an arrogant black girl. Kang Min-Ho was Korea's richest man, and he had a heart colder than ice. Everyone in Seoul knew him. His skyscrapers pierced the sky, his cars were faster than dreams, and his wealth was spoken of in whispers that carried fear. But no woman could tame him. Beautiful women, intelligent women, famous women all tried. All failed. They smiled, they flirted, they offered themselves, but Min-Ho rejected them all. None could challenge him. None could match his mind. He was untouchable. In the center of this icy world, Nia walked in. She was young, confident, and beautiful in a way that didn't ask for attention. Her skin was deep and radiant, and her eyes were sharp like she could see through the strongest walls. She didn't care about Min-Ho's wealth or fame. She had her own dreams, her own goals, and her own rules. When the company hired her as a strategist consultant, people whispered that Min-Ho only picked her because she was smart. But Nia didn't just work, she thrived. Their first meeting was explosive. Min-Ho walked into the boardroom, expecting respect, expecting awe. Instead, Nia corrected him. Publicly. She pointed out flaws in his newest plan and explained why it would fail. The room went silent. Gasps and whispers filled the air. Min-Ho froze. No one had ever spoken to him like this. No one had ever dared. "You have no fear," he muttered, his voice low. "Fear is for people with something to lose," Nia replied calmly. She didn't flinch. She didn't bow. She just stared, confident and unbothered. Something inside Min-Ho shifted. For the first time, he felt curious. From that day, Min-Ho couldn't stop noticing her. He invited her to meetings just to watch her speak. He tried small gestures, gifts, teasing words. Nia laughed quietly behind his back, always keeping her distance, always untouchable. And yet, every time she argued her point, every time she showed brilliance he hadn't expected, Min-Ho's icy heart began to crack. Meanwhile, Nia noticed things about him, too. The way his lips twitched when she wanted debate. The quiet way he protected her when others disrespected her. The way he watched her, silently admiring her independence. Something strange was happening. She didn't feel fear. She felt intrigued. Weeks passed. The tension grew. The boardroom became a battlefield of wits and egos. Min-Ho tried everything, charm, teasing, even subtle threats, but Nia remained untouchable. And slowly, he realized the truth. He had never met a woman who could match him, challenge him, or make him feel alive. And he wanted her. Nia, on the other hand, resisted. Her life had no room for a billionaire who thought everything was his to own. Yet, every time Min-Ho's sharp gaze met hers, a tiny spark ignited inside her, and she didn't know how to stop it. The game had begun. Neither would surrender easily, and both had something to prove. Min-Ho could not stop thinking about Nia. Every plan he made, every deal he negotiated, he imagined how she would respond. Her confidence irritated him, but it also fascinated him. She didn't care about his wealth. She didn't bow to his power. And every time she laughed at him behind his back, he felt something he had never felt before, a pull, a desire, a curiosity he could not shake. Nia, meanwhile, noticed the subtle changes in him. The way his eyes lingered on her when she argued a point. The faint smirk he tried to hide when she won debates. She told herself it was nothing, that he was just intrigued by her skills. But deep down, she admitted, just to herself, that she enjoyed being noticed by someone so untouchable. Then came the first real test. Min-Ho arranged a meeting with a group of international investors. He expected Nia to simply observe, but she walked in confidently, immediately pointing out weaknesses in the projected numbers. The investors murmured nervously, unsure how to react. Min-Ho, however, felt a rush he had never experienced, admiration mixed with irritation. How could someone so young, so fearless, see through him so easily? "You missed the risk factor in your projection," Nia said casually, not even looking at him. Min-Ho's jaw tightened. "You are bold," he said softly, almost to himself. "I am precise," she corrected. "Boldness is a mistake when numbers are involved." Her words stung, but strangely, they pleased him. This was not the flattery he was used to. This was truth, sharp and unyielding, and it cut through the walls he had built around himself. Over the next few weeks, their interactions became more charged. Min-Ho began inviting her to more meetings, often just to see how she would challenge him. He tried everything: teasing questions, impossible tasks, subtle compliments. Nothing worked. She remained untouchable, acting as if he were nothing more than another man in the room. Nia noticed the change in his behavior, too. She caught him staring at her once when she wasn't looking, and once she overheard him telling his assistant to make sure she has what she needs, but don't make it obvious. She smirked to herself. This man, feared by all, was starting to care. And that fascinated her, even though she refused to admit it. Then came a night that neither would forget. Min-Ho called her to his office late, saying he needed her opinion on a confidential project. Nia arrived, expecting a simple consultation, but found him waiting by the window, looking out at the city lights. "You are persistent," he said, without turning. "Most women run when I challenge them." "I don't run," she replied simply. He turned slowly, studying her. "You frustrate me," he admitted, his voice low. "I don't know why." "I could say the same about you," she said with a small, confident smile. "You think everyone should bow to your rules." "I don't." For a long moment, they simply stared at each other, the silence heavy with tension. Then Min-Ho walked closer, his expression unreadable. "You are unlike anyone I've ever met," he whispered. Nia's heart raced slightly, though she refused to let it show. She was smart, independent, and fearless, yet something about this man made her pulse quicken in a way she had never expected. The game was no longer just about intellect or ego. Something deeper had begun. The office had never seen a clash like this. Every meeting with Nia was a test, a challenge, a battlefield. Min-Ho tried to catch her off guard with impossible deadlines and high-pressure presentations. She met each challenge calmly, often exceeding expectations, while quietly defying his attempts to impress her. One afternoon, Min-Ho sent her a confidential report with a single note: "Fix this. Make it perfect. No mistakes." Nia glanced at it, eyebrow raised. The report had flaws, yes, but they were minor. Instead of fixing them quietly, she called him to the boardroom. "If we implement this as is," she began, pointing to specific sections, "we risk losing the trust of our investors. I can correct it, but you need to reconsider this approach entirely." Min-Ho's assistant looked horrified, expecting him to explode. But Min-Ho didn't. He only stared at her, his eyes dark and unreadable. "You're audacious," he said softly. "I'm accurate," Nia corrected, her tone sharp but calm. "There's a difference." He studied her, noticing the way her shoulders didn't tense, the way her gaze never faltered. Every instinct in him screamed to dominate, to control, to impress her, yet she refused to bend. And he realized, for the first time in his life, that someone was not afraid of him, and that made him want her even more. That evening, Min-Ho found himself walking past her office, watching her work. The city lights reflected off her desk glass, making her silhouette glow. He wanted to say something, anything, but he hesitated. His heart, which he thought was frozen, felt unfamiliar. Meanwhile, Nia sensed his presence without looking up. She didn't flinch, didn't smile. But a tiny, unnoticeable thrill ran through her. She had never felt this effect from anyone. Men either intimidated her, bored her, or tried to charm her. Min-Ho did none of these, he simply existed, and it unnerved her. Later that night, she left the office late, only to find him waiting at the elevator. "You work too hard," he said, his voice low. "I have deadlines," she replied, walking past him. "You're impossible," he muttered under his breath. She smiled faintly, ignoring him. But he noticed it, and something inside him twisted: irritation, admiration, desire, all at once. He realized the truth. He was drawn to her, and no amount of arrogance or wealth could change that. Days turned into weeks, and their interactions grew more intense. Min-Ho began testing her not just in business, but in subtler ways. A teasing comment here, a private joke there, small gestures that hinted at interest without revealing it fully. Nia noticed, of course, but she laughed them off, refusing to give him satisfaction. Yet, in private moments, she found herself thinking about him. The way he watched her during meetings. The rare smiles he gave when she proved him wrong. The quiet gestures of protection, like stopping a colleague from taking credit for her ideas. One rainy afternoon, Min-Ho walked her to the parking lot. "You challenged me," he said, his voice steady, almost vulnerable. "No one has ever challenged me like this." "And you're still cold," Nia replied, not missing a beat. He smirked slightly. "Yes, but I like it. You unsettle me." Nia's heart skipped a beat, though she refused to show it. Something between them was shifting. The game of ego and intellect had begun to touch deeper emotions neither of them fully understood yet. Min-Ho rarely let anyone close. His world was built on power, precision, and control. But Nia was different. She didn't flinch, she didn't worship, she didn't fear him. And that made him want to break every rule he had set for himself. One evening, the office was quiet. Most employees had left, but Nia stayed late, reviewing a complex merger report. Min-Ho appeared at her desk without knocking. "You're still here?" he asked, his tone neutral, but his eyes betrayed curiosity. "I work late," she said simply, not looking up. He watched her, noticing the faint shadows under her eyes, the way her hand trembled slightly from fatigue. Something in him stirred. Protectiveness. Concern. And that realization startled him. He wasn't used to caring about anyone like this. "You should rest," he said finally. "I will when the work is done," she replied firmly, her back still to him. A silence fell between them. Min-Ho wanted to say more, to insist, to reach out, but he didn't. Instead, he walked away quietly, leaving her alone. But he couldn't leave her out of his mind. The next day, their board meeting was tense. A rival company tried to exploit a loophole in Min-Ho's empire. Nia noticed it immediately, her instincts sharp. During the meeting, she calmly presented her findings, exposing the rivals' plan before they could act. The room erupted in murmurs. Min-Ho stared at her, a mixture of admiration and something deeper filling his gaze. "You've saved us hours," he said, finally acknowledging her. "I do my job," she replied, her tone even. He smirked faintly. "Most people I call brilliant can't think under pressure. You excel." Her cheeks warmed slightly at the rare praise, though she hid it behind a professional mask. For the first time, she felt someone notice her mind, not her appearance. And it was exhilarating. Later that night, Min-Ho found himself pacing his office. He replayed every interaction with Nia, every glance, every challenge. He didn't understand it fully, but he knew something had changed inside him. For the first time, he didn't want to win a game of power. He wanted her to notice him, to care for him, even a little. Meanwhile, Nia was at home, sipping tea and thinking about him. She told herself it was just work, that his attention didn't matter. But deep down, she felt a strange pull, a fascination she had never experienced. He was arrogant, controlling, and impossible, yet she couldn't ignore him. The next morning, they both returned to the office, pretending normalcy, but a quiet tension hung in the air. Each meeting, each interaction, was a chess move, a test, a silent game of hearts they were both too proud to admit. And yet, with every challenge, every subtle smile, every quiet moment of protection, the cold billionaire and the arrogant strategist were slowly, unknowingly falling into something neither of them could control. One rainy evening, Nia left the office later than usual. She had been caught up in numbers and projections, unaware of how late it had become. As she hurried through the parking lot, her umbrella turned inside out from a sudden gust of wind. Papers flew everywhere, and she struggled to gather them in the pouring rain. "Need some help?" a deep voice asked. Nia looked up to see Min-Ho, holding his own umbrella and a calm, slightly amused expression. She wanted to brush him off, to act as if his presence meant nothing. But before she could respond, he knelt beside her, helping gather the scattered papers. "You're reckless," he said, handing her the last page. "I'm careful," she replied, a hint of irritation in her voice. This was unfortunate weather. He didn't argue. Instead, he walked beside her to the elevator, his umbrella covering them both. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was different. Nia noticed how the rain streaked across his sharp features, how the city lights reflected in his eyes. For a moment, she forgot herself and then quickly reminded herself she was untouchable. The next day, Min-Ho surprised her with a small gesture, a neatly folded umbrella left on her desk. Attached was a simple note, "For your next battle with the weather." Nia rolled her eyes, half amused, half irritated. He was trying, subtly, to show he cared, and she didn't like how it made her heart beat faster. But she didn't let him see. Instead, she left the umbrella where it was, a silent acknowledgement of the first thread connecting them outside the office walls. Their colleagues noticed the subtle shift, too. The tension between them had softened in small, almost imperceptible ways. A glance lasted longer, a conversation stretched slightly past professionalism, laughter sometimes escaped them without pretense. The game of power had begun to share space with the game of emotion. Later that week, Min-Ho invited Nia to a private strategy dinner, a test, perhaps, or maybe an excuse. Nia hesitated but agreed, intrigued despite herself. The restaurant overlooked the Han River, the city lights sparkling like diamonds across the water. "You seem different here," Nia remarked as she sipped her water. "I am different," Min-Ho replied quietly. "Outside the office, I can be honest, less controlled." Nia studied him, trying to decipher his calm expression. She wanted to challenge him, to push back, but something in the softness of his voice made her hesitate. They spoke for hours, discussing work, life, and dreams. For the first time, they weren't billionaire and strategist, but simply two people learning about each other. By the end of the night, Nia felt a strange warmth she hadn't expected. She wasn't intimidated, she wasn't charmed, yet she felt connected. Min-Ho, on the other hand, realized he had allowed someone inside his fortress, just a little, and the thought both thrilled and terrified him. The office buzzed with excitement the next morning. Min-Ho had arranged an important international collaboration, and every eye was on him. Nia, as usual, was calm, analyzing every detail. But today, someone new appeared, a young, ambitious woman from one of the partner companies. She smiled at Min-Ho with admiration, leaning a little too close, and Nia felt an unexpected stir of irritation. Min-Ho noticed it immediately. He didn't like jealousy. He was above petty emotions, but something about seeing her subtle tension made him pay attention. For the first time, he realized that she was human. And for some reason, he found it endearing, almost impossible to resist. During the meeting, the young woman kept trying to impress Min-Ho, offering her opinions and ideas. Nia, calm yet pointed, corrected a few mistakes, her voice firm. Min-Ho's gaze shifted between them, noticing how effortlessly Nia held her ground. That quiet confidence, the way she refused to be overshadowed, made him ache in ways he couldn't name. Later, Min-Ho called Nia into his office. "You handled that well today," he said, closing the door behind her. "I handled it professionally," she replied, standing tall. "Professional? Yes, but I see more," he said, his voice lower now, almost teasing. "I see that you care, even when you pretend not to." Nia blinked, caught off guard. She wasn't used to anyone noticing her feelings, especially him. She looked away, hiding the tiny blush creeping across her cheeks. "I care about the work," she said quickly. "Nothing else." Min-Ho smirked slightly, leaning against his desk. "You're impossible," he said. "And I like it." For the first time, Nia felt a flutter she couldn't completely dismiss. He wasn't just the untouchable billionaire anymore. He was someone who saw her, truly saw her, and it scared her in a way she didn't like to admit. The tension escalated one evening during a corporate gala. Min-Ho attended with his usual stoic charm, but Nia arrived in a simple, elegant black dress that turned heads without her even trying. She ignored the attention, walking straight to him, confident as ever. "I didn't expect you here," he said, his voice low. "I came for the strategy, not the glamour," she replied. "Yet you look stunning," he said softly, surprising himself. Nia's heart skipped, but she maintained her composure. She wasn't going to let him see how easily his words affected her. The gala went on, filled with whispers and glances, but the two of them shared quiet moments, conversations in corners, subtle glances across the room, small smiles that no one else noticed. By the end of the night, both were acutely aware of something shifting between them. The game of intellect and ego had now mixed with something deeper: attraction, desire, and the thrill of being understood by someone who refused to be tamed. The days following the gala were tense. Min-Ho noticed how Nia's focus wavered slightly during meetings, how she seemed distracted. He suspected it had something to do with the young associate who had tried to impress him earlier, but he also knew it was more than that. Nia was human, and her emotions were now subtly entwined with his. One afternoon, a major investor threatened to pull out unless certain conditions were met. Nia immediately jumped into action, analyzing the details, running simulations, and preparing a plan. Min-Ho watched her, impressed by her brilliance, but also aware of the quiet vulnerability that appeared when the stakes were high. "You handle pressure well," he said quietly, standing behind her chair. "I always do," she replied, without looking up. "It's my job." "No," he corrected. "It's more than that. You care. You feel. And it shows." Nia froze, her hands hovering over the keyboard. She wasn't used to anyone reading her so clearly. She didn't reply, choosing instead to focus on the work, but her mind kept replaying his words. For the first time, she wondered what it would be like if she allowed herself to trust him. That evening, Min-Ho insisted on reviewing the investor presentation with her in private. They stayed late, working side by side. The office lights reflected off the glass walls, and the city glittered outside. For hours, there was silence, punctuated only by the sound of typing and the occasional clarification. Finally, Nia leaned back in her chair. "Done," she said, stretching her arms. Min-Ho looked at her. "Done?" he asked softly. "Yes," she said firmly, though she noticed his lingering gaze. He stepped closer. "You've done more than just complete the work. You've proven yourself. To me, to everyone. And yet," his voice faltered slightly, "you still act untouchable." "Why?" Nia met his eyes, for once letting a flicker of vulnerability show. "Because I don't trust easily," she admitted quietly. "I've been hurt before. I don't let people in." Something softened in Min-Ho's expression. "I don't expect you to. But maybe, just maybe, you can let me try." Nia looked away, her heart racing. She didn't answer, but she couldn't deny the effect his words had on her. The following week, a scandal threatened the company. A rival had leaked false information to the media, intending to damage Min-Ho's reputation. Nia discovered it first, using her sharp intuition to trace the leak. She alerted him just hours before the story went public. "You're brilliant," Min-Ho said, his voice low and filled with admiration. "You saved us. Again." "I did what had to be done," Nia said, brushing it off. But Min-Ho noticed the slight tremor in her hands, the tension in her shoulders. He reached out briefly, placing a hand near hers. Not touching, but close enough to show he cared. "You're not alone," he said softly. "You never will be." Nia's breath caught, and she looked away quickly. For the first time, she considered letting someone in, someone who had always seemed untouchable himself, but her pride, her independence, held her back. Yet, something had changed. The cold billionaire and the untamed strategist were now not just opponents, not just colleagues. They were allies in a silent war of emotions neither fully understood, and the connection between them grew stronger with each passing day. Min-Ho sat in his office late at night, the city lights stretching endlessly outside the window. He thought about Nia, her sharp mind, her fearless attitude, the way she had challenged him at every turn. And now he realized something he had never admitted to anyone before. He couldn't imagine life without her. The next morning, he called her into his office. Nia entered, confident as always, though something in her chest tightened. She sensed the moment was different. "I've spent my life rejecting people," he began, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "Not because I didn't want to care, but because no one ever deserved it. Until you." Nia's eyes widened slightly, though she maintained her composure. "You've challenged me," he continued. "You've made me see things I never wanted to see, feelings I never knew I had. And I don't want to reject you anymore." For a moment, silence hung between them, thick and meaningful. Then Nia spoke, her voice quiet but firm. "I've never been yours to take, Min-Ho. And I never will be." He stepped closer, closing the space between them. "I'm not asking to take you. I'm asking to stand with you. To face life with you. To be with you." Her breath caught. She looked up at him, searching his eyes and finding sincerity, care, and something deeper than wealth or power. Slowly, a smile curved her lips. "Maybe. I've been holding back," she admitted. "Because you're different." He reached out gently, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I am different," he said softly, "because I see you. Not as a challenge, not as a conquest, but as you." And in that quiet, glowing office, with the city lights surrounding them, Nia let herself lean in. Their lips met softly, a kiss that carried months of tension, frustration, and unspoken admiration. It was tender, yet full of the fire that had always defined them, the perfect blend of passion and respect. From that moment on, they were no longer just billionaire and strategist, no longer just rivals or colleagues. They were partners, equals, and lovers, united by intellect, respect, and the slow-burning fire that had brought them together. Min-Ho finally found the one woman who could not be tamed, the one who saw him as a man, not a fortune. And Nia found the one man who could challenge her, protect her, and love her without trying to change her. In the quiet aftermath of boardrooms, mergers, and corporate battles, they discovered something more powerful than wealth or power, love built on respect, challenge, and trust. And for the first time, Min-Ho's heart was warm, fully alive, fully open, and entirely Nia's. Drop one word for Nia. Do you think our words are always sounding arrogant or fearless? Let's hear your answers in the comment section. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share with friends and loved ones, and subscribe for more amazing stories.